Hi, today I'll be presenting about my interview for my Intercultural Contact and Interaction project. The purpose of this intercultural contact and interaction assignment is to learn more about another culture. It is not often that we get an opportunity to have an in-depth conversation with someone from another country. By participating in this interview, I was able to gain a better understanding of another culture by exploring the differences and similarities between Germany and the United States. Amelie Vosgetter is an international student studying strategic communication at Flagler College. Her home country is Germany, but she came to the United States to play college-level tennis. Amelie's first 2 years in the States were in Texas, before she transferred to Flagler and moved to St. Augustine. Amelie is currently in Germany due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but I was able to interview her over Zoom. I've had numerous classes with Amelie, so I was very excited to talk to her about her German culture. In class, we looked at Hofstede's 6 dimensions, which looks at different characteristics of countries and allows you to compare them. In preparation for this interview, I compared the United States and Germany. One thing that really stood out to me is that the US is much more focused on individualism, while Germany is much more focused on long-term orientation, which means a stronger sense of connection to your country. I asked Amelie if she noticed this difference when studying in the US. Do people here tend to be more focused on developing themselves rather than staying true to their culture? Amelie answered this question by bringing up the American dream. She explained that she grew up learning about this American dream, where in the United States you can be who you want to be. After college, you can do something that utilizes your degree, or you can do something completely different. However, in Germany, Amelie explained to me that you have a set track that you follow once you decide what you want to study in college. If you go to school to be a doctor, then you will be a doctor once you graduate. Amelie also explained that Germans are much more connected to their culture, which means they are not very accepting of new ideas. Amelie gave me the example of being a vegetarian. Germans eat a lot of meat, and people that decide to be vegetarian are often looked down on, especially by the older generation. Another thing I noticed when examining the characteristics from Hofstede's 6 dimensions was that Germany and the United States are both more masculine. This means that society is driven by competition, achievement, and success. I asked Amelie if she agreed with this observation. Amelie told me that she definitely agrees with this observation. She explained to me that in Germany, children are sent to different schools based on their grades. After 4th grade, students that are driven and have good grades are sent to gymnasium in hopes that they will one day attend college. Less driven students that do not have very good grades are sent to schools that will teach them trades rather than put them on a track for college. It was shocking to me that Germans put such academic pressure on students at such a young age. Amelie also pointed out that college is much more competitive in the United States. She explained to me that college is still difficult to get into in Germany, but typically if you graduate from gymnasium, you are able to go to the college of your choice. Amelie told me, however, that Germany does not have such competitive universities such as Yale and Harvard. One other interesting thing that Amelie told me is that Germans that attend college are bound to be successful because their career track is already set for them once they decide what they want to study. In the States, however, it is the individual's responsibility to be successful. Another thing I wanted to ask Amelie about was the media structure of Germany. I was curious whether Germany is more authoritarian or libertarian in its media structure. In an authoritarian setting, media outlets are likely censored by strict licensing policies. In a libertarian setting, the media is self-policing. I was also curious whether or not the public has open access to the media and if there are other types of media in Germany that we don't use as frequently in the United States. In answering this question, Amelie explained to me that the media structure is very similar to that of the United States. The public has complete access to the media, and majority of the population is literate, meaning they can understand the news they see. Germany is also a libertarian setting, meaning there is no government interception in publication. One really interesting difference that Amelie pointed out is that the Germans don't use Twitter. This stuck out to me because in the United States, Twitter is a huge source for news, especially for the younger generation. However, Amelie told me that she didn't even create a Twitter account until she came to the college in the US. In fact, most of her German friends don't even have a Twitter account. Going along with my questions about media structure, I also asked Amelie about the legal aspect of media in Germany. This revolves around the concepts of freedom of speech and censorship. In regard to the legal aspect of media in Germany, Amelie told me it is also very similar to our circumstances in the United States. Germans have freedom of speech and censorship is not an issue. The government has little to no influence on what is released. The press is also self-policing, meaning news and other media are not censored by the government, but rather the press is responsible for deciding what is appropriate to release. After asking Amelie questions regarding international strategic communication, I found myself very interested in the German education system. Amelie mentioned it during our discussion about masculinity, but I decided I wanted to explore it further. Amelie started our conversation by explaining gymnasium in more detail to me. Gymnasium is the school that students who are looking to attend college are sent to. These are the students who are driven and get good grades at a young age. Students who are not as academically successful are sent to schools that will teach them basic skills and trades, rather than being put on a track for college. This separation was particularly interesting to me because in the United States, where you attend school is typically based on geographic location, specifically in the public school system. Germany's method seems to make more sense, however, I'm not sure that separation should be decided upon at such a young age. Amelie also explained to me that during your final year of gymnasium, students choose 2 major classes that they are tested on at the end of the year. Students must pass this test in order to graduate gymnasium and receive their degree. This is significantly different from the US, where you graduate high school as long as you make good grades. I think this information about the German education system really supports the masculine competitive aspect of the German culture. Building off of the discussion of the German education system, Amelie and I began to talk about college in Germany and how it differs from college in the United States. Amelie knew a lot about this topic because she attended college in the United States but has many friends that go to college in Germany. There are actually many differences between college in Germany and the United States. Amelie explained to me that college in Germany only takes 3 years because there are no general education requirements. Once you start college, you immediately start taking classes that are pertinent to your major. This is very different from the United States, where your first 2 years of college typically consist of general education courses. This is why U.S. college typically takes 4 years for completion. Another interesting difference is that in Germany, in order to change your major, you must wait until you complete the semester. This is because there are no general education courses, making it harder to change what you are studying. For example, in the United States, you can change your major rather easily while you are still taking general education classes. One other big difference is that there are no college sports in Germany, but they are a huge part of college in the United States. That is why Amelie came to school here, so she would be able to play tennis at the collegiate level. However, I asked Amelie if she would stay in the States after college, and she told me she plans to stay in Germany. Amelie also mentioned that while she was in college here, she realized some major behavioral differences between Germans and Americans regarding personal relationships. Amelie explained to me that she observed some intense differences between the ways in which Germans and Americans handle their personal relationships. She pointed out to me that while studying in the United States, she realized that people here are very fake. We put on a persona that we are friends with people, but then we go and talk badly about them behind their backs. We are scared to be rude to people, so we are constantly nice to people we don't like. Amelie explained to me that in Germany, people are not afraid to tell people how they feel. If someone in Germany doesn't like you, they will simply distance themselves from you. They do not feel obligated to be nice to people that they are not fond of. I think this interview was very beneficial in my understanding of other cultures, specifically Germany. It is so important to take an opportunity to have such an in-depth conversation about culture. We are not often offered a chance to sit down and get someone's opinion of their own culture. I have had plenty of classes with Amelie during my time at Flagler, and I knew she was from Germany, but I never got to ask her about what she thought about her home country. By actually talking with her about her personal experiences, I gained a much better understanding of the similarities and differences between our two cultures. I learned that both of our cultures are very driven, especially academically. However, Germans are more attached to their culture, while Americans focus on individual gains. While there are many similarities and differences between these two countries, I think recognizing them is what is most important. By familiarizing ourselves with different cultures, we are able to have successful interactions with them, especially in international strategic communications. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. I hope you enjoyed and have a good day!